I'm locked.
Agreed.
Let me try something.
I can see them, but they're grayed out.
Yeah, and sometimes, like I said, there's a lag. And I can't see from.
But has anybody been successful yet?
I'm seeing one of the first ones that I need to go to, Music Sadness, because I scored really low. So I think it's working gradually. Like
It let me into mine.
Click in.
I think after you just did the unpublished and publish, my 80s music discussion just popped up. So I think that helped.
Okay.
Mine let me moved it.
Mine did too. Mine just started working.
Okay, thank you. And then I was going to say that's what I found. If you hit the publish, unpublish, it'll just make sure you don't relock the modules. Just hit continue. Let's see, I'm trying to remember where I was. So I made the quiz and set it to everybody. And then when you're inside that quiz, you have this tag here called the mastery paths. This is where I added my items. Okay, I'm going to come back to this. Before you start, you want to have all this built, right? You don't want to like be creating while you're doing. So the biggest difference when you're making these items, so I'm going to come over here to assignments and just kind of show you. Right, so here is this discussion. And I'm going to edit it. Down here, where it says assign to, you want to assign it to mastery paths. Because think about it this way. If you assign it to everyone, then that means everyone is going to see it, right? So once you make the assignment, when you're here to assign to, you're going to do mastery paths. And then it's going to ask you, whoops, sorry, working with my left hand here. Once I hit save, it's going to say, wait, are you sure you want to do that? Because typically you assign it to everyone, right? And then you're going to say, yes, continue. Okay, so when you create anything that's going to go inside your mastery path, you have to make sure that you assign it to whoever falls in that mastery path. And if you notice, let me go back. Anybody that was in this path, see how it assigned it to them individually? So it pulled all of these students are ones that scored in the middle. So it's basically taken any student that's fallen in that mastery path and then pulled it and assigned this one to them. So if you're on the high level, you don't get assigned to this one. And if you're on the low level, you don't get assigned to this one. Okay. So for everything that falls inside that mastery path, then that is where, that's how you do that, is you have to assign it to mastery paths. Okay. So I'm going to show you real quick how to set it up. Created another one. All right, so this course is exactly the same. I have all of my assignments built, but I don't have my module yet. So inside my modules, I'm going to create a module. And I'm just going to name it Mastery Path. And then I'm going to add it. All right, the first thing that you want to add, I'm going to publish it. The first thing that you want to add is that first quiz. So I'm going to do quiz. And I'm doing, this is the one that I created that's for everybody, the 80s music trivia. So I'm going to add that one. All right. I don't think I took it out of the mastery paths. Sorry. It should be blank. I apologize. I'm going to show you how to do that. When I copied the course over, I forgot to take these out. So typically when you start with the quiz, this mastery path will be blank. You'll have nothing here. So the first thing that you would want to do is looking at your point range, is deciding which paths are going to be worth how much, right? So for my quiz, I decided that it was best if they miss more than one, they're not really an 80s music expert. It will split it for you automatically, but you can go in and change it, okay? So for this one, I know that I hit the plus button, and I know that I'm going to give them the 80s music love. And then I'm also going to give them the 80s music extension. So I'm going to click those ones and I'm going to hit add items. Now you notice it came over as this one and that one. If I go to the and sign and I click it, it changes it to or. So that's where you can give them the choice. A couple of things about the choice, like I said, the students can see exactly what the assignment is. Once they make a choice on one, they can't go back and change their mind. So if I'm looking at this and I'm like, I really want to do the extension, that's why they can see it before, because it wouldn't be fair for them to just to get to it and be like, oh, I don't want to do this. And then so for my second path, same thing, I'm going to hit the plus button. And that one's going to be music meh, music study guide, and then I want to do the post quiz. Right? And again, if I wanted to, I could come here and say, you know what? I'm going to give them the choice between doing the discussion or both of these. It just kind of depends on how you want to do it. But I have that listed as all. And then same thing for the third one. They're going to be music sadness, study guide, and
Trista, on the right where it says all items, what are the various options? Is it quizzes, assignments, et cetera?
yeah, it gives you the option to just filter down. Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. And you can search too. So you just go through here and make sure that everything is correct the way that you want it. And then you go back to the module. Sorry, I'm trying to type with my left hand again. So now what you have to do is you have to add all of those items into the module. So that way the student can see them. So same process, you just hit the plus button. I like to do them in order just because it helps me. So I know the first one is going to be a quiz, which the quiz is already there, the 80s music quiz. So the first one is going to be the discussion, which is the love. And then I'm going to go through and add the rest of these. Give me a second here. So I'm going to add the love. And it doesn't matter if you do them necessarily in order, but I'm going to do the meh. Oops. Sorry. And then I'm going to do the here's the assignment, which is the study guide. And actually what you can do, which is easier, I apologize for this, you can actually add them all and then just rearrange them, right? Because Music Love also gets the extension. And I put Music Love in there twice. So I think you guys get the idea on that. All right, so you add in all of your items. All right, and then where is this one here? I'm going to go ahead and add that quiz so I can show you something. And then I'm going to add that post quiz. Okay, I might not have these in correctly, but you get the idea. So your first one should be one with the mastery paths, then every other thing that's in the mastery paths should be in here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up prerequisites for the module. Or actually not prerequisites, requirements. So basically I want my students to complete all requirements. And remember that in this case, it means all requirements on their path. Okay. And I want them to do it in a sequential order. And the reason you do that is because I don't want my kids to take the post test before they do the assignment or before they do the study guide. Okay. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to add. So the first one is the quiz. Everyone has to take the quiz. So I want them to submit because I don't care what they get, right? Because that's how I'm putting them on their path. Then I'm putting in the discussions. And for a discussion, I want them to contribute to the page. Oops, sorry. And then I've got my music sadness, same thing, I want them to contribute. And then music meh. And then even though I have all three of these discussions in here, right? The only one that has to do the music love are my top kids. The only ones that have to do the meh are my middle kids. I'm not going to add the other stuff, but it's the same process. But I'm going to go ahead and do that last quiz, which is the post quiz. So what you can do is you can set that to where they have to score at least a 70. So what that would mean is they would start here with the quiz, then they get put on their path. Now, obviously, if you're one of the top kids, you don't have to take the quiz and you just do the assignments and then you move on. But if you're in the second or third group, once you get done with what you need to do, you get to the post quiz. And then once you take that post quiz, you have to score a 70 in order to move on. So as a teacher, you'd be able to, gauge that the student scored below 70 or below a 90 the first time, then went through the assignments, and then now they're able to score, at least a 70. So again, that's up to you as a teacher, how you want to set up those prereqs and how you want to measure their learning, right? All right. Again, I'm so sorry, you guys have to forgive me. I think I told you at the beginning, I had surgery 2 days ago, so I'm a little cloudy. So what questions do you guys have? I don't know if I missed anything or if I wasn't clear.
I had a question. When you put the kids on a mastery path, can it only go to like one? Like I see how you have your categories like music love, music extension.
Mhm.
That cannot be its own module, right? It has to be its own single activity.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Your path could be just one. I mean, it could literally be, we all take a quiz. All you have is 3 different assignments and that's it. Like, it doesn't have to be a choice. It doesn't have to be 2 for each kid. It can be very simple as we took a math test. I got 100, so I do an extension activity. You got a 70. You maybe watch a video and then do an assignment. And then the bottom level kids maybe have to go meet with the teacher. So it can be very, 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 very simple. I also saw a question on here. Do we need to add the mastery pass for all of our subjects, or has Birdville done it? It is turned on in our instance, so you don't have to turn that on.
Is there a sufficient body of work that can, that I guess suggests how effective this has been? And kind of along with that, I was thinking about false positives. If a kid happened to guess with a lot of success and was deemed a master, but really needed to learn the material.
Yeah. Well,
What are some thoughts on that?
so my thought are 2. One would be if you're doing, because the guessing part we always have to worry about, right? So either creating your test in such a way that they can't guess. Multiple choice is the easiest because they get instant feedback. Your quiz can be open-ended also. So if you're concerned about them, really knowing what you want them to know, you could do multiple choice and then throw in a couple free response. And then you just have to actually grade them before they get put on their path. So it might be like, you're taking the quiz today, you'll get your path tomorrow.
Okay.
If that's a concern. This is more like for a quick thing. So it just kind of depends on how your tests are made up and what the content is. If that helps.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
So once they took like that, like the music trivia, the first one that puts them on their path, and then you said it automatically like generates what assignments go to them. Let's say we have someone in that middle group and they still kind of struggled with that. Are we able to go and add them onto like an extra activity that lower group got that they didn't?
You can always, it wouldn't necessarily be in the, excuse me, in the mastery path. Any assignment you have, you can always assign to a specific student. So like when I had that one quiz or discussion pulled up and it had those names on there. And then I'm only saying your name because I'm looking at it on the screen. And then Christina takes the quiz, and she was in the medium group, but I really think she needs to get to that low level. I can assign that directly to her. It won't show up in the module, but she'll get it on her to-do list. So you always have that, capability. It just might not be an automatic thing, if that makes sense. Or if you have a module, it will show up for her because it'll be assigned to her specifically also. Yes, you can have numeric responses on a quiz. Absolutely. Let's see. Yeah, and I don't think there's a lot of people using this. I found a teacher at Richland, and he's teaching, I think, environmental science. So he's got a mash of kids in his room. He's got like kids that are interested in environmental science, people that are taking the class just because they think it's a free science credit. You know, he's got special ed, he's got, you know, just a whole gamut of kids. So he does all of his modules in this, and he said he's been very, very successful with it. My suggestion would be, if you do it and try it, would just be to start small, like do a quiz and then give them those 3 different assignments, just to make sure that you have it down. The biggest mistakes that I've come across is forgetting to put it in the mastery path when you create something. And also setting up the module the correct way. And Mark, I only know of one person that's using it, and his name is Mason Bond at Richland High School. He's the only person that I know that's using it in his class currently. Oh, Amber, you use it. Great. How does it work for you?
Sorry, I was just sharing with some people that I work with an example, but we've used it for tutorials, like right after they take a test or a quiz in the Canvas. And so I have been able to embed it in like a weekly module. So they could we do our work Monday through Wednesday, we take the test on Thursday, and then on after they take the test, they would be working through specific tutorials afterwards.
Oh, okay, that's great.
Sorry, I've had my video on. And the data is really cool as well. There's a way that you can see how the kids scored and where they're grouped at. I don't know if you, on yours, where the teachers scored at, but.
Yeah, so I did, when you're in the quiz, I'm on the wrong course. But yeah, it shows up here on the quiz. And again, I mean, I've watched a lot of videos on this and, you know, did some internet research. And this is one of those things where I think it has a lot of potential. You just kind of have to mess with it and see what you find out and how it works best for you.
And I was gonna say that, like, we used it, we had some kids struggling with some assignments. So if they didn't do as well, you can like copy the assignment and have them redo that assignment in the mastery paths. And so those that do really well can move on to the next activity. Those that need to redo it will just be, you know, directed in a different path. It's really cool. I like it.
Yeah, people use it for breakout rooms. You can use it, like I said, for differentiation, like she was saying, for tutoring. So it can be non-academic also, like a choice, putting them in groups. It's just, you know, kind of one of those things where you guys have all the experience on the ground, as it were, right? So you can try it with kids and see what works. And I know it can also be a little frustrating sometimes because there's just little nuances. You just kind of have to work through them and see how it best works for you. I just knew that I'm actually glad to see that there are a lot of teachers using it in the district. But we kind of didn't talk about this because it's kind of next level and didn't want to. Sometimes when we introduce something, people are like, I have to try it. And didn't want to confuse or overwhelm. But so this was basically just an introduction so you guys could see it and kind of get an idea and then mess around and play with it. I would love if any of you do mess with this to kind of loop me in and let me know what you're doing so I can check it out and see how it's working for you guys. This will be great for next year too, when you have kids coming in at different levels, seeing where they are. Amber, when you say Edpuzzles work as well, do you mean you can use it as a the beginning quiz for the mastery path, or just in general?
Yes, so if they didn't do well on the test, like the next thing would be to go back and watch like an Edpuzzle. And so you can do your flipped videos through the Edpuzzle where it slows it down. They ask, you ask them questions, and then depending on how they score, then they would go on to the next activity or on a different path. So, but I know that, some of the assignments are a little trickier, but the quizzes and the Edpuzzle does work.
Yeah, oh, okay. It's good to know. All right, so what do you guys think? Any other questions or comments or?
I do have a question that Ms. Gomez and I were just talking about. So I teach English, and I can see where for a pre-assessment, this would be really useful to determine, kind of which direction my students are going to go. I'm assuming then I could link in assignments to take them to different parts of their Pearson textbook online. Like I wouldn't have to create all the assignments inside Canvas.
Correct. I mean, you can just provide a page with a link. I will say, just because you mentioned that, the things that automatically show up in Mastery Paths or anything that's an assignment are tied to a grade. So if you wanted to send them to just a page,
Yeah.
you have to do one extra step. So I'm going to go to all pages. You just have to click a button. So I'm going to add a page. So if you were just going to give them a list of things you didn't want to tie to an assignment, you have to come down here and click allow in Mastery Paths. So it'll show up in that menu when you're setting it
Okay.
up. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
The next step, because it's tied to anything assignment, quizzes, assignments, or discussions automatically. You get that Mastery Path drop down. Yeah, that's a great question. What else you guys got? I'm really excited to see if you guys come up with some cool stuff. I don't do elementary, but I have, obviously I work with elementary DLSs, and there was a group of teachers that were trying to use it just, on their own and trying to figure it out. So I was helping them. They're doing like a choice board, I guess, for the kids to decide where they wanted to go. And their mistake was they were trying to do it not in a module. But I just think that you guys could probably come up with some really cool ways to use it in your classrooms.
One of my questions about technology has always been, what can you do that you couldn't do before you had the technology?
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is a great answer to that question. In the past, when we wanted to differentiate instruction for different learners at different levels, you pretty much had to group them together, or it was very difficult to manage an entire classroom of learners. This way you can do it on an individual basis, and it's even based on immediate results from the pretest. I think if if teachers couple this with Bloom's taxonomy, you've got the Bloom's level of whatever the TEAC is that you're teaching, and if you have the differentiation set up so that those who are very successful at the pretest are 1 or 2 levels above that level of Bloom's, and that those who are on level are 1 level above in Bloom's, and those who are struggling fall back and do some scaffolding first and then get to the level of Bloom's you're trying to get them to. I think this allows you to do things you never could before. We don't have the time to do that. It does take investment of time on the front end to set up the lessons to be able to do that. But this level of differentiation wasn't really possible prior to the technology. And that's where the real revolution is going to occur in education, is being able to address students exactly where they are in that proximal zone of proximal development, and get them to move forward from there. So
Yeah.
thank you very much for this. I think it's a great contribution and gives us a lot of opportunities that we didn't have as instructors before.
Oh, definitely. And I think that students appreciate it too. You know, they appreciate being honored for what they know and what they don't know. And when you give them those choices and allow them to, you know, work on their strengths and not feel like they have to wait around, you know, for the kids that don't understand or be pulled in with the kids that are higher than them, I think that you get that individualized instruction. And I think they appreciate it, even if they might not act like it, but I think they do. So I'm glad that this was helpful for you guys. And also, you know, if you're working with this, if you have any questions, I mean, shoot me an email. I'm gonna be more than happy to sit down and walk through things with you. It's not a hard thing. It just takes a little, you know, bit of, like he said, processing time and planning time on the front end. But I think that it'll let up a lot of time for you to help the students that need to be helped.
Before I were to implement this, I guess I'd want to know, do you think it's advisable to tell the students, hey, this is what's going to happen? And, you know, you might see your classmate might be working on a different assignment, or do you do it on a covert basis?
I don't know. I think it depends on, me, if I was a teacher, I would always approach it as, you know, kind of what I was just talking about. You know, we're all at different levels and some of us need more than others. So the way we're going to run this is you're going to take a pre-assessment and then you're going to get an assignment based on that assessment. And you don't need to say you're going to be high, medium, or low. I would make sure that the assignments aren't so different that you're sending off some kids to do something that looks really fun. You know what I mean? So it's not obvious. It's just that if I'm sitting next to you and we're both working on the same thing, just maybe in a different way. And it could even be the same assignment, just asked different questions, like those discussions that you guys got. They were the same discussion, but they were just a little bit different in the way that they were worded, right? So you're still all doing the same thing. But like the low one, the ones that were the sadness, it basically said something about, well, I guess you don't really like 80s music. So what's your favorite genre of music? So now they're talking about something that they want to talk about. So I think, you know, it just depends on maybe the relationship you have with your class or how you want to approach it. And again, I think I said this in the beginning, to be careful, because some of the training that I saw was, this is level A, level B, level C. So you don't really want the students to be like, what level are you on? You know, so either it's putting emojis, like when I made it the first time, I had like a cherry and an apple, you know, just something so I knew what level it was, but there was no way for a student to say, oh, you got a cherry, that's better than an apple, you know, kind of that stuff to keep it straight in your mind, but the kids can't compare because they do that. Excuse me. Just trying to think if there was something else that I could show you, but I mean, that's pretty much all I got, unless you guys have some other questions or comments or wonderings of how you could do it. And like it did say, just to kind of, I can show you that real quick. If for some reason you only want 2 paths, because you can't have more than 3, and you have to have 3, what you would do is, let's say you want to do a 50-50, right? Like this would be 100 to 50. And then let's just change that to, you know, whatever, 30. So what you would do is you would just assign these last 2 paths the exact same assignments. So then you're really only doing 2 paths. You'd have this path here that's below 50 and this path here that's above 50. You would just have to make sure that all 3 of these assignments are the same for those 2 paths. So that's how you do 2 paths instead of 3. You can't do 4, not inside of this program. I think you can MacGyver it, but I don't know how to do that. And I don't think, and also some questions people have asked is if you could have a mastery path within a mastery path. I think that is possible, but again, it's like you have to do a lot of finagling to get that to happen. So I would stick to the, you know, 3 paths inside mastery paths before you venture out. But I'm sure that there's a way to do lots of stuff. But Thank you, Mickey, for being my co-host. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. You're doing a great job for just having had surgery a couple of days ago.
Oh, thank you. I feel bad because we had to cancel this for the ice storm, and
Yeah.
I don't want to get it off of the plate, you know.
Well, it's been a great presentation. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, I don't have anything else unless you guys have. You guys are free to go on to the next one. I know Owen is having one on outcomes at 2 o'clock. If you're interested in outcomes, I would go to it. It's a great tool, and Owen's a great presenter. He's full of energy. So I encourage you to go see him if you're able to.
Can you shoot him a message and ask him to record it?
Yes, he's supposed to. I will
Okay.
remind him. I missed the first 10 minutes of mine because I stopped it, but yes, he's supposed to be recording it, but I will remind him.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Oh, you know what? Let me go ahead and, before you guys leave, I don't think they're going to ask you if any of your principals are asking you for proof. Let me give you this Google Doc. Because I don't know. I know before they were asking for proof, but I don't know if they were doing it for this one. It's just a short form, your name, your school, and a quick question in case they want to know who was here. And that's all I got. You guys send me an email. Let me know what you guys are doing if you have any questions, and I'd be more than happy to help you guys out. My email is tristablosser@birdvilleschools.net. I can type it in here. There's actually another Trista in the district, so I would say just type my name. But there you go. I'm going to take away your co-host permission, just in case. I think if you log off, I don't know if it'll close the whole presentation. So I'm going to, don't be mad.